High achieving women are running companies, leading teams, and holding massive responsibility. Yet many feel most powerless at home with their own children. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because no one ever taught them how leadership actually lives in the body. In this conversation, we're revealing what's really happening beneath those moments of tension, shutdown, and emotional reactivity, and how the same inner capacities that create deep connection at home also create the most powerful leaders at work. By the end, you'll understand the one shift that changes both parenting and leadership at its core. Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life health, transformational coaches, and spiritual entrepreneurs stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I'm your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to empower coaches and entrepreneurs to amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible. If you're ready to start attracting premium clients without chasing algorithms or hunting people down like a banshee on a mission, head over to coachesalchemist.com and schedule your free client acquisition audit. It's the first step to building a business where your clients seek you out rather than you having to hunt them down. Today, we are chatting with Micheline Green. Micheline is a strategic women's wisdom partner guiding visionary women leaders from high performance into deep presence. With over 25 years of global experience spanning executive coaching, trauma-informed counseling, ward-off education, and leadership development, she bridges a rigorous human development theory with embodied feminine wisdom. As an integral master coach and senior faculty at Integral Coaching Canada, Michelin helps women cultivate grounded authority, intuitive intelligence, and soul-aligned leadership in both their families and their organizations. Her upcoming book, Leadership Parenting, explores how the way we parent today shapes the leaders of tomorrow. Welcome to the show, Michelin. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's ask you the big question. Are you ready?
Dun, 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 dun.
What's the most significant thing, in your opinion, as individuals we can do to make an impact on how the world is going?
Woo, that's a biggie. Single thing. Well, I think it's coming back into connection. The subtext of my title is Release Control and Restore Connection of the book Leadership Parenting. I think that we have disconnected from our bodies. We are disconnected from one another. We are disconnected from nature. We're disconnected from the spiritual, invisible, mysterious world. And I think returning first and foremost to ourselves, inside of our own bodies, inside of our, the only place where we truly have control, which is with ourselves, restoring that connection first and
Mhm.
foremost is what is going to change the world.
I agree. This year just feels like a year for connection and collaboration. Every year I listen for the word of the year for myself. Last
Yes.
year it was get visible, and it was all about getting visible. The year before was about peace
Mm.
and peace for myself mostly, but it really shaped the whole year. This year is just all about I just hear collaboration and connection. And connection, we've spent so much time with AI, and AI is like going to take over the world, but really it won't if we connect with each other human to human, and we need human to human connection. It's just like
Mm.
I-
Yeah.
yeah.
100%, 100% for sure. And what I often will say is we need each other and yet we fear each other. And
Mhm.
I think that's a big part of just our cultural conditioning and where we are currently in our societal structures is there's forces that are at play to keep us apart, to have us fear one another, to build this great divide between us and, our family, our neighbors, our partners that we're raising our children with. And so we need each other now, and yet we fear each other now. So how do we come together even though this fear is present? And that's kind of the big question is, how do we find that connection and collaboration with each other? And it starts by returning home to ourselves, to finding that safety within ourselves. Hmm.
Curiosity. Instead of
Hmm.
being drawn into joining teams, which is kind of what I feel like everything is set up to. You have to be on Team Red or Team Blue, or and you have to defend all of the pieces of Team Red or Team Blue, even though they really don't fit with who you are. Yes, some of them might, but not
Hmm.
all of them. And it doesn't, it's like we're being told it has to be all or nothing.
Mm.
You can't just be you and say, no, well, no, I'm not against this part of it on this side. And I kind of like this part on that side. I can just be in the middle. And
Mm.
I can I can just say, I just want peace.
Hmm.
Bill Cosby
Yeah.
had a comedy act. It's just like, and one of the lines was, they've got stuff that belongs to me too. I don't want fairness. I just want quiet.
Mm.
It's like sometimes I just want quiet. I
Mhm.
don't need all the chat.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think the desire the all or nothing is also, it's a societal construct in the sense
Mhm.
that we've kind of been raised in this belief system that it is black or it is white. It is right or it is wrong. That is a consciousness worldview that many of us and all of us have been raised in, and yet there's an evolution that's happening. There is a rising of our consciousness, there's an opening of our aperture to recognize that, wait a second, it's not just black and white. There is a whole lot of gray that is happening here. And that gray area is allowing for the multidimensionality of who we are. We're
Mhm.
not just, like you said, red or blue. We have so much more involved in within ourselves, And so again, coming back home to ourselves, what are we relying on for making decisions? What are we relying on within ourselves for safety? We have this brain that's got left and right hemisphere. It is built for duality. It is built for right side, left side, and managing the balance between the two. And that's where we've relied for decision making for many, many years. And what is now recognizing, and neuroscience is backing this up, and quantum physics is backing this up, it's like, wait a second, we have so much more intelligence within us. I mean, the Chinese system believes that the heart is the emperor, not the mind. So there you go. Our Western culture shifted that, right? And so the heart as the emperor, and how do we get in and connected to the heart? Or how about now in the autonomic nervous system and all of the information we're learning about the autonomics and the intelligence of our gut, right? And the amount of receptors that are in our gut that help us to ground, that help us to stay connected to nature, that help us stay grounded and feeling a sense of safety within inside of ourselves, and not just looking to the external visible world, but looking inward into the invisible world that is available to us. I mean, I always say the universe that is so big out there is we have as big of a universe within inside of ourselves.
We do. I, 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 I have this thought sometimes. You know how the universe it's all the different parts make up the universe. Well,
Mm-hmm.
each human body is a little universe of its own.
Mm-hmm.
You have different cells, which are living organisms in and of themselves
Mm-hmm.
in this container that we call ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, and they don't all perform the same job, so they're all different and they all function together and there's a communication system between them. And it's not just like your brain. It's it's all of you. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can slow down and feel
Mm-hmm.
what a situation is doing or how it an interaction is happening. And I don't even mean just between two people. It can be between you and an animal or you and a tree or a plant.
Mm-hmm.
because we have connections with those also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's it's so much bigger than
Yeah.
just like what we've been told. You're just a
Yeah.
body.
And so, right, there's this idea of like the connection with the invisible world. We are the 7 billion, or excuse me, 8 billion cells that are making up Mother Earth, as we have what,
Mhm,
557 trillion cells just within our body or something.
mhm,
Right? And it's like, and this is trying to work in a homeostasis, right? Just like Mother Nature, just like us, we're trying to find this place of homeostasis. So one thing I used to always tell when I worked in the school systems, I've coached, directors of schools, and I've coached teachers, and I've worked with a lot of parents in school systems, and mainly in the Montessori and the Waldorf schools, different philosophy of education, which is something that I always supported because I
mhm.
always was looking for something different for my own kids. And teachers they feel very siloed. They feel very isolated on their own in their own classroom. And that's where that there's not support going across from each other, but there's more fear of one another, and like somebody's going to see that I'm doing it wrong, or somebody's going to see that maybe I raised my voice in a different way. So they're trying to keep people out, but that's literally like saying, the kidney cell is trying to stay away from the stomach cell, or we don't want to yell at each other. It's like the metaphor is there that we're just trying to find a balance, and we're trying to find homeostasis with inside of ourselves. So coming back to that idea of how do we be with each other, connect with each other, collaborate with each other beyond this fear. And so what is that fear? That's the question, is why are we fearing each other? And I always come back to, because we're so disconnected from ourselves, we don't have an internal, what I like to call is like an inner alignment of integrity, right? Something that grounds us right down to our feet and comes up right through our center and up through the top of our head so that it can shift and move and wobble and bend, but it's not breakable. And right now, we don't have that within inside of ourselves, most especially our children. We're seeing, of course, a huge mental health crisis within our children. And that's because the parents themselves are so stretched and torn between, the fear of I need to make money and I need to have a job and I need to, you know, I want to producing in this world, and I have children at home and I want to raise them. But that is causing this huge tearing, and it mostly falls on mothers of not knowing where their own center is. And if we can't access that deep tap root within inside of ourselves, we can't access that inner wisdom that I help guide so many, executive leaders and directors who are also mothers.
I think there's a big component of guilt in there that gets moved along, especially for women.
Mm,
When you start talking about having children, and some of us are wired to have children, but it's really hard when you have this career that's really important to you, and it's not to minimize having a career because I I was a mom in the 80s. It was, we could have it all. You could be super mom and super wife and super executive and make all this money and live the best life. And it was like, yeah, it didn't work for me.
mhm.
It's just like it burned me out. And I
Yeah,
didn't understand that it was burning me out. But
yeah.
and I have two kids that are like they were really traumatized by the whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, and a husband that was gone all the time. My husband at the time was a subsailor, so he would be gone for 6, 8 months at a time, and it was before cell phones or computers.
Yeah.
So it was just like me and all these things that I had to do because, otherwise I was a failure as a human being.
Hmm.
But if we could get to a point where we could just let people be people,
Mm,
men or women. I don't care if there's a man that his wife he's married to a woman who's very powerful and an executive, and he takes on the role of raising the children. I think we're living in an environment where it doesn't matter, but we really need to be involved with our kids, one of the parents.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. One thing I just would say there is, how can we get to I want to take that out of the equation that we're not trying to get anywhere. I think that
Right.
language in and of itself is still part of our old paradigm thinking of
Yeah.
climbing a ladder, achieving, having it all this stuff. So I particularly, and especially being a master coach, I'm
Hmm.
trained to listen to language and hear patterns, and
Yep.
changing perspective on language is really important in regards to you know having being a mother.
Hmm.
We know, I think, many of us here know that we need more women leaders. We need
Hmm.
more women in positions of power. We need more women shaping the future. And those women who are in those positions are also mothers. And so we cannot keep these two roles separate. And I think COVID did a beautiful job tearing down the illusion that we have a professional life and a personal life. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, wait a second. This is all going on, in each other's lives. And these systems that many people are still working in are systems that were built from patriarchal culture, and they didn't honor the inner wisdom of the feminine. It's not set up to support these relationships that we have as women, both mothers and as leaders. And so it's in a really important time for women to come back home to themselves, deep reconnection with self, and not just to, like, of course, this inner wisdom, but their values of what they most what is their deepest intention, and what are their deepest values, so that we can come back to value-based living. Because I truly believe we can have it all, it just might not be all at the same time, because that's a myth.
Yes.
That is a complete myth, that you can do everything at the same time. But what you can do, instead of you know, um, trying to manage everything, is coming back to deep presence. And this is what a lot of the work that I do, because once we have deep presence, meaning we are fully embodied here and now in this present moment, our mind, our spirit, our heart, our gut, our body is fully here and present with another human being, our child or colleague or a boss, whatever. But when we come fully present, that is when we have access to our greatest power to be able to sense and see and feel. And this is these are the feminine, wise feminine skills to really sense into what is needed in this moment, and also what's needed in the future. So I often use the language of future-led coach, because I've seen a lot of women leave corporate and start their own businesses, much like in coaching. And what ends up happening is they kind of take that patriarchal culture that they were working with in the corporate world, and now they're applying it to their business. They're still pounding it out and hustling and proving, and kind of in that performative way, wondering why they're still burnt out. And so it's what we don't recognize is these cultural systems are deep within inside of us, and they're happening unconsciously. So until we begin to do the work individually, begins individually, we can do it collectively. I have a group that I work with, and to me, I find, and again, like you said, we are at a time where collectively we can burn through a lot of our baggage a lot quicker. But
Mhm.
with my individual clients, whom I work with for long periods of time, 9 months to a year, if not longer, we're working to, how do we come home to yourself, to feel deeply within yourself, to know where these belief patterns, how they're showing up in your body, in your emotions, in your actions, in the ways that you are checking the world to know if you're doing okay. These are all important pieces that need to be kind of the pull back the layers to kind of understand, how are you currently working, and how do you want to be working in the world? How do you want to be in the world with that deeper presence, that inner wisdom, and that ability to be future sourced, not just repeating patterns of the past? And this is really important because, my first book here, Leadership Parenting, is about the woman individually in her relationship with her children as she is also a leader. I'm really feeling, and I'm naming it now, and I probably should stop talking, but it keeps coming out of me. There is a second book that wants to be written about, and once we've done that, how do we start really changing the systems that if you're in the system, how do you start changing it from within? Because I think that's the next step, the important piece.
think so too.
Mm.
All the pieces are broken right now.
Mm-hmm.
And now is the perfect time for the shift to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And women women are waking up to the idea that we are not broken men
Mm.
and that doesn't work for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and yet we can still be fully feminine
Mm.
without having to deny the masculine parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it helps men because you can allow them to embrace some of their femininity,
Mm-hmm.
the feminine parts, because none of us are all one or the other. We're all of these pieces. And it
Sure.
gives them permission to be whole instead of you have to be over there and I'm going to be over here and we all there's only one way to do this. Goes back to the fear of
Yeah.
not being enough, which is
Yeah. Yeah. For sure, the wholeness piece is a big part of what I do with my clients and what I work with, and that's Carl Jung's work about the sacred marriage of anima and animus, which is really that inner masculine and inner feminine that's within us, um, in each of us. And that the feminine and the masculine and their energy systems, they're not attached to the gender at all. They're
Mhm.
energetic systems and how they work and how we need them. And we need both of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All the time. And we're weaving in and out. And when we have access to more of them, right, then we're not only relying on one. So coming back to the brain model, right, we as a Western culture have overly relied on the brain for decision making. Then we've overly relied on the left side of the brain, which is the rational and logical part of the brain. And so that's often considered the masculine side of the brain, rational, logical, linear. And so if you're not making decisions from there, then, you're not doing it right. And yet women make decisions the right side of the brain, which is holistic and emotional and quite can be quite chaotic. And that's normal kind of space that women can play in and work in, and yet that's considered not okay. And so coming into this balance and knowing when to rely and to draw from either or, um, to be able to be leading from wholeness and not from willpower. So again, coming back to that sense of connection to self, because when we are leading from willpower and not wholeness, we are completely ignoring our own system, our full body here, masculine, the feminine, but all of the energy that we have access to. We're cramping and crimping up different parts of ourselves to override it. And that only leads to burnout. I mean, that's a pretty common
And disease.
disease, right? When we are overriding our autonomic nervous systems, which we have a salutogenic state, which is the health centered, and we have a pathogenic state, which is a diseased state.
Mhm.
And so the autonomic nervous system, which is one system of our bodies, is sending us signals all the time. Our bodies are sending us signals all the time. And so when we override those signals, which we all do, that's when we are running, we're holding energy to hold that down. So I'm not going to pay attention to that now. So I'm going to lock that down. And that takes a lot of energy to do. It's exhausting because you hold that down for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 40 years. My oldest client is 83. So, that's a lot of years of holding something down. And it's a disease creating state. And so being able to reconnect the body and to listen to the wisdom that is there, and this is what I offer with my free offering called Awakening the Spidey Senses. We often think of the five senses, right? We all know them.
Mhm.
We don't bring them consciously to our mind because they do run unconsciously. Thank goodness our beautiful
Mhm.
bodies are able to run so much unconsciously and we don't have to think about it. But what happens when we do bring consciousness to those five centers, those five senses, right? How we use our eyes, how we use our hearing, how we use our sense of smell, to bring us back fully present. That's what brings us to the here and now. Now, I come from Waldorf schools. Waldorf schools are built on the anthroposophical model that Rudolf Steiner created back in the early 1900s. It is a study of this kind of he called it the spiritual science of man. Obviously, that's human, but he talked about 12 senses. And so, what I have in Awakening the Spidey Senses is I've actually laid out 15 senses. So, beyond our physical senses, we have subtle senses. And beyond our subtle senses, we have transpersonal senses. And so, how to be sensing into, and this is the ability to sense into the future, right? How do we sense into reverence and unity, right? And so, these all can be developed. These are all just practice-based development. And so, that is what I offer in the Awakening Spidey Senses.
Oh, I love that. When you were talking about the five senses, I was thinking, God, I hope she goes further than that. And
Yeah.
you certainly did.
Yeah.
We have so much ability as a human being that we're never we're never allowed to examine because, beyond the five, if you're looking at beyond the five senses, then you're getting in the woo-woo territory and people are going to just dismiss you. But
Mm,
more and more, woo, to me, woo is just, and magic. It's just science that hasn't been explained yet. If you
mm,
showed a computer to somebody many years ago, they would probably look at it and say, oh, that's magic because they don't understand it. I mean, there's some old people you show them a computer and they're like, "Oh, that's magic," and they dismiss you. But
yeah.
it's becoming more apparent in science with neuroscience that there's so much more capacity for a human to experience this presence to a greater extent. And I love that you're sharing that with your clients. And
Mhm.
you were talking about you have individual sessions and group sessions. Is it like a community? How does all that, how does your
Yeah.
coaching look?
So I work, much like I said, a deep dive,
Mhm.
9 months, could go longer to a year. I've had some clients I've worked with. These are, executives, self-led, driven, purpose-driven women who are also mothers at home.
Mhm.
And a lot of the coaching is building that sense of wholeness within them so that they are navigating full presence, being able to access the whole intelligence of their body. I mean, these are the women who walk into a room and everyone is waiting to hear what they have to say
Mhm.
because it's going to be deep and it's going to be profound and it's going to be powerful. And those are the women we want leading, who understand the depth of the invisible world while also being able to navigate this very material, visible world, which we know is all crashing down around us as we speak, slowly and steadily. The woo woo part, I understand. I mean, you and I have probably been around the coaching world a long time. I started out, 16 years ago, full time coaching, 25, 30 years ago, counseling. And, I think we got to stop saying woo woo. Just, this is my own thing. I think everybody's realizing, it's becoming the norm that there is an invisible world. I think my cell phone's magic. I don't know how it works, but it works. I think me communicating with people like my clients are around the world, I think that's magic. I think that's beautiful technology. My body is a beautiful technology that can do amazing things that I don't know anything about. So this is the work that I do. It's deep work. It's deeply penetrative work. Um, but the results come on quite quickly because we're uncovering and unpacking and pulling back the layers of how my clients are currently showing up, but
Mhm.
also building the new skills and capacities for how they want to be showing up with their kids, their partners, and at work. I do also have some group work that I do. It's a course. I don't like to even call it a course. You'll see it on my website. I call it an initiation.
Mhm.
It is, I think that we are at a time where we need to be coming together as women. I think traditionally women have been challenged to be together in group, partially, because of the patriarchal kind of belief systems that we have within us. And so I think this is the time where we're coming together. And if we're coming into this group, it's called Be All In, right? So here we
Love it.
go. How many of us, I'm going to out myself here, right? My foot half in my coaching business and half out of like, ooh, ah, ooh, when I first started. And it wasn't until I was like, wait a second, I'm all in. Like, there's nothing else in this world that I would rather do, that I am so gifted at. I'm a genius at being with clients and helping them create sustainable change in their lives. I got to go all in here. Like, this is it. This is my
Mhm.
full purpose for being here in the world. So if you are someone who has this full purpose and you feel yourself half in, half out, come to this program. It's an initiation. It's your initiation. And it is some deep processes of breaking down all of these belief systems that we have been told and taught to believe, and really stretching ourselves into the future that we know is possible. We know it's possible. The new level of consciousness is already here on this planet. And it's really about living from a loved centered space. But yet we all have fear. And so, how much does fear control us and take over us? And how do we be in relationship with that fear, but not let it overwhelm us? And fear could stand for anything: stress, anxiety, right? Fear or love. This is really where we're at. And so we all kind of know this cognitively,
Mhm.
but integral theory, integral meaning everything, is about taking what we know up here in the mind, in the cognitive area, and actually bringing it down into the body, into the behaviors, into the actions, into the lived embodiment of what we believe. And so that's the course, the initiation called Be All In. And that's a group work that I do.
I love that. I love that.
Mm.
And people can find Awaken Your Spidey Senses on your website. And it's
Yes,
a,
michelinegreen.com. And
okay.
it's a free offering, and there's one recording where I go over all of the senses, and then I have an individual recording for each of the senses, so you can actually take it as a 15-day practice.
Oh, that's very great. Um,
Mhm.
I did want to ask you, when a woman learns to trust her body's innate intelligence instead of fighting it, what
Mm,
becomes possible both in parenting and how she leads?
mm. Yeah. Um, I think when a woman trusts her body innately and the wisdom that is guiding her from within, these are the world bringers. These are the women who are birthing a new world, because our hearts know it to be true, that a new earth is possible, a new paradigm is possible. We're all sensing it.
New World Order.
Yes, exactly. We're all sensing it. And we're not quite sure how to get there. We like to talk about it, or maybe we like to complain about the old world order, but it's like, wait a second, we actually have path forward. We have actions and behaviors and ways of being that are going to bring us forward. So when a woman is trusting her body innately, she becomes the most powerful person she can be. I
Perfect.
often say to many of my clients, I've in some sort of way, they have said this to me. I don't really know what you do. I just know I need it. And I'm like, that's perfect. Because if you already knew what I'm talking about, you would probably understand it, but there's this sense of like there's something more. I can feel it. I know it. It's within me. It's within all of us. So how do we bring that out? And that's the work that I do.
It's so beautiful and it's so needed right now. And I really am grateful that you're you're out there doing this very necessary work.
Mm,
So thank you so much for joining us today, Micheline,
it's
and
been
sharing
a
your wisdom.
pleasure. Yeah, thank you, Jill. Appreciate you very much.
You can learn more about Michelin and get the guide to awaken your spidey senses by visiting michelingreen.com. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. If you're ready to amplify your voice, monetize your mission, and start attracting premium clients, your next step is simple. Head to coachesalchemist.com and schedule your free client acquisition audit. Join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.